I can't mimic voices for love or money. I'm completely hopeless at it. I was a really bad actor at school, and I've never been able to master the art of mimicry.
Queen Camilla has spent decades balancing public opinion. From being called a royal homewrecker to finally taking a place alongside King Charles as queen consort, her path through the halls of power has been anything but easy. To some, she is a misunderstood person who has endured continuous media storms. However, many people, particularly the millions who adored Princess Diana, believe Camilla should never have worn the crown. And just when it appeared like Camilla had successfully softened her image, an unexpected twist arose that threatens to ruin everything. Her own brother has just broken the hush. Camilla's younger brother, Mark Shand, was never a major character in the royal story. Unlike his sister, he eschewed the spotlight, preferring a life of adventure, philanthropy, and conservation. He was recognized for his devoted involvement with elephants rather than royal intrigue. However, in the years preceding his unexpected death, Mark kept secret notebooks, taped conversations, and shared intimate views with close pals. And now, those shards are beginning to emerge, exposing a very different side of Queen Camilla than the world has seen. What has come to light is far from flattering. In fact, it is disastrous. Whispers in Mark's close circle claim that he never backed his sister's royal ambitions and was deeply concerned about how she handled her connection with Charles, particularly during Diana's lifetime. Some said Mark thought Camilla was gripped by jealousy, motivated not by love, but by a desire to dominate and alter the monarchy in her own image. Even more troubling? According to sources, Mark worried Camilla would eventually target Kate Middleton, viewing her as a danger to the throne's future. If the reports are accurate, Camilla's long game affected more than just Diana. Kate may have been caught up in the Queen's silent war of legacy. Royal insiders are astounded. The monarchy, already stressed by decades of controversy and eroding public trust, is now confronted with an unpalatable truth. And it does not come from a tabloid or an outsider. This comes from Camilla's own bloodline. So why now? Why is Mark's voice eventually heard? More importantly, what did he say? As we peel back the layers of this royal bombshell, one thing becomes clear. The past has resurfaced, and it may take Camilla's crown with it. Stay with us, because what happens next will have Buckingham Palace reeling. Long before Camilla Parker Bowles became the Queen Consort of the United Kingdom, her younger brother Mark Shand was forging his own path, one far apart from royal etiquette and palace hallways. While Camilla embraced the monarchy, Mark distanced himself from the crown's frigid formality. He wasn't interested in tea with courtiers or meticulously arranged picture opportunities. Instead, he was drawn to the volatility and color of the real world, and his decision made him both an outsider and, as it turned out, an unexpected insider to the most contentious royal rising in recent history. Mark Shand was born in 1951, barely 1 year younger than his sister Camilla. The two had a childhood influenced by upper-class affluence and aristocratic customs, yet their lives contrasted drastically as adults. Camilla pursued social connections that would eventually lead her to Prince Charles, whilst Mark wanted adventure. He became a writer, a wanderer, and, most notably, a conservationist who was strongly committed to the protection of Asian elephants. His best-selling book, Travels on My Elephant, chronicled his voyage throughout India on the back of an elephant named Tara, gaining him international acclaim and confirming his position as a man of substance beyond society's pages. But there was something more to Mark's charm and altruistic achievements, and watchful, softly critical eye toward the monarchy with which his sister was becoming increasingly involved. He never completely accepted Camilla as a regal figure. In fact, many close to him said he was profoundly disturbed about it. According to acquaintances who have traveled with him, worked with him, and exchanged personal letters over the years, Mark Shand regarded the monarchy as a performative illusion capable of corrupting even the most well-meaning individuals. When Camilla re-entered Prince Charles's life during the tumultuous years of his marriage to Princess Diana, Mark apparently disapproved. Some suggest that he believed Camilla's re-emergence was motivated by vindication and power, a method to recapture the attention and affection she felt she earned. In private, Mark reportedly referred to Camilla's royal ambitions as dangerous and misguided. One close friend of his claimed, Mark loved his sister, but he didn't always like what she was becoming. It wasn't just a brother's concern. It was a man watching someone he loved transform under the pressure and allure of global influence. But Mark was more than simply an outsider with ideas. He had access. As Camilla's brother, he was privy to private chats, late-night phone calls, and personal admissions that no royal advisor or press secretary could ever access. Though he seldom spoke publicly about Camilla or the royal family, he is claimed to have kept notebooks of his opinions, which are now being surreptitiously passed in close groups since his death in 2014. One such entry reportedly questioned the morality of how Camilla maneuvered through Diana's pain, wondering aloud if the monarchy had truly benefited from burying its conscience to make room for her crown. These aren't the words of a bitter sibling. They're the words of someone who witnessed the collateral damage of a royal scandal and dared to tell the truth from within. According to one text found in his notes, Mark wrote, "This family needs truth-tellers, not loyalists," and Camilla stopped being honest the moment she returned to Clarence House. Whether intended for publication or catharsis, those statements have sparked vibrations in a kingdom that values quiet above all else. Mark Shand's terrible death from a fall in New York may have muted his voice in life, but in death, his truth is now being heard. And the truth, conveyed via notes, recollections, and recordings, is proving to be more disruptive than any headline or royal documentary. Because if Camilla's own brother questioned her motives, if the guy who knew her best questioned the legitimacy of her crown, what does it say about the foundation she now stands on? As further details about Mark's legacy emerge, the world learns more than simply about a long-forgotten sibling. It's finding a witness, a man who witnessed the royal machine from the inside and chose not to participate in its cover-up. Camilla was already infamous before her coronation as queen. Her name was whispered in salons, reported on gossip pages, and inscribed in the sad chapters of Princess Diana's life. But insiders close to Camilla's brother, Mark Shand, say the romance with Charles was simply the tip of a far deeper passion that had been boiling for years, a preoccupation with Diana as well as Charles. Friends who knew Mark well allege that he became increasingly concerned about Camilla's infatuation on Diana even before the public recognized her as a contender for queen. He was troubled not just by the treachery, but also by Camilla's seeming psychic shadow. According to a close friend of Mark's, he felt Camilla was less in love with Charles than she was obsessed with the idea of being Diana, controlling the same man, sitting on the same throne, wearing the same crown. In private chats, Mark allegedly portrayed Camilla and Diana's relationship as one-sided, territorial, and alarmingly competitive. Diana's youth, attractiveness, and seamless connection with the public made Camilla, who had always been more forthright and disdainful, feel invisible. Camilla was more than simply envious of Diana's fame. She also despised the fact that Diana had done everything first, married Charles, had offspring, and won the hearts of the people. Mark is alleged to have cautioned a pal that Camilla doesn't only want to be queen, she wants to rewrite history so it appears Diana never lived. While stunning, Camilla's statement is even more unsettling when seen in light of her actions over the years, fighting for acceptance, reworking her public image, and surrounding herself with advisors anxious to erase the past. One of the most troubling assertions to emerge from Mark's supposed notes is that Camilla retained Diana's old press clippings and studied them quietly, not out of admiration, but rather out of strategy. He assumed she was scrutinizing every stance, statement, and charity gesture in order to outmaneuver others. Diana was tearful, but Camilla remained stoic. Camilla would have influence over the press whenever Diana was involved. It was not an admiration, it was a correction. Diana launched a stealthy campaign to rebrand the royal family, focusing on herself. Her name was buried beneath her reign. According to people acquainted with the allegations, Mark was particularly disturbed by Camilla's discussions about Diana behind closed doors. Insiders claim Camilla regarded Diana as fragile, manipulative, and naive, despite the outward mask of sorrow and grace. Mark refused to excuse his sister's affair after witnessing the anguish it had caused. He knew Diana wasn't flawless, but he thought she never deserved the emotional pain she went through. And there was the essence of Mark's warning. He wasn't only critical of Camilla's past. He was concerned for the monarchy's future if she was permitted to continue ascending unchecked. In one widely circulated quotation from Mark's notebooks, he is said to have written, "A crown built on the bones of someone else's sorrow is bound to fall." Camilla is aware of this, yet she continues to climb nevertheless. The royal family may have thought that Diana's shadow would fade away with time. But if Mark Shan's observations are correct, Camilla never stopped gazing over her shoulder, not to mourn, but to ensure Diana remained behind her. And now, those hidden realities are resurfacing, threatening to expose the flaws in Camilla's carefully crafted legacy. As the royal family attempted to heal after Diana's untimely loss, a new chapter emerged. William had found his match in Kate Middleton, a lady who exuded composure, relatability, and the grace that the nation carved in their future queen. The monarchy, previously scarred and battered by scandal, was slowly healing. However, not everyone within the palace gates regarded Kate's presence as a gift. According to those who claim to have heard snippets from Mark Shan's secret recordings, Camilla saw Kate as a growing danger rather than a potential ally. Camilla supposedly grew angry as Kate became increasingly popular with the public. She had spent years struggling for acceptance, working her way from royal mistress to queen consort. But Kate, in contrast, appeared to win over the world with a simple grin. Camilla was not pleased with the unbalance, and if Mark's secret notes are to be believed, she was prepared to fight back. Friends close to Mark claimed that he once told them about a series of phone conversations Camilla made in the early years of Kate and William's relationship, not to celebrate or welcome Kate into the fold, but to sow mistrust among top royal advisors and tabloid sources. What's the goal? Subtly undercut Kate's image before it solidifies into that of an adored queen-in-waiting. The stated plan was neither vulgar nor apparent. Camilla did not need to launch dramatic interventions or external attacks. Instead, she relied on whispers, hints that Kate lacked the stamina for royal life, that her family was too middle class to grasp the crown's standards, or that she was overconfident, pursuing the throne with planned charm. The claims were never signed, sealed, or recorded. However, they were repeated frequently enough to gain momentum in tabloids and royal circles. And when the notorious Weighty Katie story began to surface during Kate and William's lengthy courting, many now believe Camilla was secretly fueling the fire. It was subtle sabotage, just enough to dim Kate's brightness and halt her progress. Mark Shand was allegedly greatly concerned by this behavior. He is alleged to have cautioned Camilla that her concern with manipulating public opinion would eventually backfire. She's trying to compete with Diana's ghost, and now she's turning on the only woman who could actually help restore this family's image, one acquaintance recalls Mark, staring at a private dinner. Mark's private notes also reveal that he thought Camilla saw Kate as Diana 2.0, a poised, photogenic figure who once again dominated her. Camilla found that type of echo unpleasant. It was more than simply personal jealousy, it was about legacy. If the people adored Kate, they would never really welcome Camilla. If William and Kate become the monarchy's golden pair, Camilla's reign would be remembered as a footnote, temporary, tolerated, never fully respected. Camilla is alleged to have continued to move behind the scenes, sowing doubts, encouraging opposing viewpoints, and utilizing her proximity to Charles to direct talks away from Kate's strengths. But, deliberately or not, Kate never participated in Camilla's game. With grace and stillness, she overcame the passive antagonism and ascended beyond palace politics. Camilla may have become even more upset as a result of this, because the future queen did not strategize, rather, she just suffered. And now that Mark's whispered warnings have been revealed, Camilla's seemingly winning game may be turning against her. For decades, the public was fed a version of the royal love story that ended with redemption. Prince Charles, formerly locked in a loveless marriage, found happiness with Camilla, the woman he had always loved. It was framed as a romantic fate, a second opportunity. But if you ask Mark Shand, who knew Camilla long before the palace polished her image, that story is nothing more than a gilded mirage. According to Mark's closest pals, the truth was considerably more disturbing. Charles never completely fled the cage. He just stepped into another one. Privately, Mark is alleged to have described Charles as haunted, not by duty, but by guilt. The globe was in mourning following Diana's death. The monarchy was rocked. Charles, now a widower soiled by scandal, became a man in severe need of emotional support. Mark said that Camilla took advantage of his vulnerability to further embed herself, not only in his heart, but also in his thoughts. Mark was concerned that what began as emotional support had rapidly turned into emotional manipulation. What phrase did he use to describe it? Royal hostage. One buddy recounts a late-night talk with Mark in which he described Charles as a man so afraid of breaking again, he lets her hold the pieces together, even if she's the one who broke him in the first place. Mark believed Charles lacked control over his life. He was locked in a relationship based on unfinished business, secrets too dark to address, and the urge to rewrite a past he couldn't bear to carry. This wasn't simply idle talk. Mark apparently attempted to talk privately with Charles several times. He thought that the emotional toll of the affair, the public scrutiny, and Diana's death had left him feeling more alienated than ever. And with Camilla as the sole steady presence amid that pandemonium, Charles clung to her out of necessity rather than freedom. More distressing were accusations that Charles had separated himself from William during the period when Camilla's influence grew. According to palace employees who have talked on the record, Mark was alarmed by the growing discrepancy. He thought Camilla discreetly damaged the father-son tie, worrying that William's and Kate's rising popularity might jeopardize the new royal order she envisioned, with Charles at the helm and herself seated securely beside him. In one of Mark's purported diary entries, he wrote, "Camilla has always known how to fill the room, especially when it's one Charles is trying to escape from." This is a scary remark, and when more of Mark's ideas emerge, the picture of Charles as a man in command begins to collapse. Because if what Mark indicated is correct, Charles did not pick Camilla out of love. He picked her because she was the only one who knew the true extent of the damage and how to conceal it. Even today, with the crown on his head and Camilla formally by his side, sources claim Charles still acts nervously. Tense moments during public appearances, the fatigue in his tone when defending Camilla against detractors, the small pauses when reporters discuss Diana's legacy. For some, it is just the weight of royalty. But for those who know Mark Shand, it's something else entirely. the burden of unresolved guilt, carried by the lady who made certain he never forgot it. Because love may be liberating. According to Mark, Charles's attachment to Camilla was never motivated by love. It was terrifying. As reports of Mark Shan's disclosures spread across the royal gates, reactions within the royal family have been far from consistent. While Buckingham Palace has kept its customary chilly silence, sources claim the emotional temperature behind closed doors is swiftly increasing. Because this isn't a bogus tabloid attack or an external danger, it's a savage strike from Camilla's own family. For the Windsors, it means reliving ancient wounds that have never entirely healed. Catherine, Princess of Wales, is at the core of the royal reaction, and according to Mark's notes, she may have been Camilla's quiet adversary all along. Instead of gloating or retaliating, Kate has apparently chosen a course known to those who know her best: gracious restraint. According to royal officials, while being discreetly rattled by charges that Camilla sought to harm her image, Kate has remained cool, collected, and, as usual, focused on her children and tasks. One royal insider described her attitude as measured but not emotionless. The anguish is present, but it is restrained. She's not surprised, the source said. She has experienced tension and power plays in the past, but now she wonders if it was intentional or strategic. That is challenging, especially now that we know it wasn't just the press. It might have come from someone within the family. Kate's reaction, however, contrasts sharply with that of Princess Anne, who is thought to be enraged. Unlike Kate, Anne has never tried to conceal her dislike of Camilla. The two ladies have had a notably strained relationship over the years, and Anne, who once described Diana as fragile yet true, has long maintained that Camilla's elevation to monarchy was the result of palace intrigue rather than genuine public service. Now that Mark's private complaints have surfaced, Anne is said to feel justified. According to one insider, Anne had discreetly told Charles for years that Camilla's influence was negative, particularly in relation to William and Kate. She always saw Camilla as someone who looked out for herself above all else, the insider added, and she hated how quickly Charles would defend her, even at the expense of his own son. According to sources, Anne has already spoken sternly behind palace doors, calling the discoveries a disgrace, and warned that additional repercussions may undermine the monarchy's stability. She is alleged to have questioned the appropriateness of continuing to support Camilla's position when it is evident that the Queen Consort has caused irrevocable cracks in the royal family. William, sandwiched between his father and his wife, apparently responds more restrainedly, but obviously aloof. While Prince has not spoken publicly about the problem, palace sources say his recent encounters with Camilla have been formal at best, with a palpable frost replacing their past attempts at togetherness. And what about Charles? Insiders believe the king has become abnormally silent. There are no denials or indignant statements, just silence. Those closest to him describe him as deeply troubled, maybe because he understands that if even some of Mark's predictions are correct, the harm done is not only political, but also personal. Camilla's actions may have lost him more than just popular support. They may have cost him his family's confidence. As the dust continues to whirl, the Windsors will face a grim reality. The truth, long buried in allegiance and quiet, is being heard through the ghost of Camilla's own brother. For Kate and Anne, the voice is more than simply a whisper from the past. It's long overdue validation of their fears. In the vast theater of royalty, appearance is everything, and Camilla's image is now fractured from within. For years, the palace worked feverishly to change her image from mistress to queen consort, villain to misunderstood lady. To some extent, they succeeded. However, no public relations effort can withstand the power of truth uttered by a family, especially when that family is as close and believable as a brother. Mark Shan's remarks, albeit uncovered posthumously, are now more powerful than ever. They put doubt on every meticulously planned moment Camilla has had since Diana's death. They put into doubt her motivations, loyalty, and the road she took to the throne. If these claims are to be accepted, Camilla did more than merely suffer disgrace. She planned her own survival at the expense of others' agony. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of all is King Charles's silence. His failure to face or even accept these whispers has further widened the schism among the family. William is watching. Anne is fuming. Kate keeps cool, but the pain is palpable. What about the public? They are no longer readily influenced, because Diana's spirit returns, as does the voice of Camilla's own brother. This might be the ultimate test for a monarchy already plagued by contemporary skepticism, broken loyalties, and generational differences. Can the crown endure another wave of revelation? And, more importantly, can Camilla? The palace may attempt to limit the fallout. Statements may be drafted. Smiles may be practiced. But the harm has already been done. Because no matter how many tiaras she wears or how many awards she wins, Camilla must now live with the fact that the person who knew her best, her own brother, never thought she deserved any of it. And that truth may be the one crown she can never polish.